The President of the United States has the power to draw the world's attention to what the U.S. is doing, whether it be for an agenda. We're part of a business, and now the business put a new figurehead to steer the business in the direction that the shareholders wants it to, in a sense.
They put an actual CEO in the position.
There's a CEO in the position.
And his catchphrase is, "You're fired." So it's perfect.
Check this out.
Me, like, whole election was, you have like extremes everywhere. There's like this person that's like cookie cutter politician, everything we're used to, has a kind of bad history of like being consistent. The other side, you have like just completely unknown because we don't know what was going to happen. Like most people will go with the unknown because that might be good.
So, you know, this is like still his sphere of people. He just not a politician. He didn't take the route of a politician. He's not a lawyer. You can't look back and like see his credentials in that way.
Well, he's got a different background, like you said. Yeah. He made all his money in business. All those people, they didn't want him to play with them because they are politicians. They have a different background. They made all their money being politicians. Right. They made all their money molding their words that come out of their mouth to what the people want to hear. Right. They made their living being manipulative and deceptive, and that's why they didn't want him there. They're like, "You're not one of us. Get out." They're trying to push him off the hill.
Seems to be a pattern there.
No, it's like nobody. The same way, right? No, never in our history have we had somebody who's a non-politician actually did it. But he actually held office of governor beforehand. So he did the same kind of fight, but on a smaller scale, on the state level.
But there seems to be a pattern when you say manipulation, because I feel like the people are manipulated by politicians that know the demographic. The media can manipulate you because they know their demographic. Facebook algorithms can manipulate you because they know you so well. It's as if we're trying to feed the demographic. That's for some reason, that is our goal instead of what it should be, which is
represent.
They only want to reinforce what you already think. You know, they only want to reinforce your opinions by having a closed cycle. You only see articles that you already agree with. You're not going to expand your scope of knowledge.
Which is why this is better.
But it's not only that. Even if there are things that you might not agree with, they find subtle ways of trying to make you feel like a bad person for not being on board with them. So you have to change the way you think and the way you feel. So it's not just that they're trying to feed you certain things. They are doing that. But at the same time, they're trying to control how you feel about certain things.
Damn the man.
Why are they trying to control how you feel so they can sell you something?
Exactly. So they can continue to make money. They can continue to have their livelihoods come off the back of American citizens. That's my opinion.
Okay. I mean, I want to bring up a weird question. Is there anything good about the current administration? What are we missing from all of our frustration? What is there something that's positive? That's something that's happening.
I think people are starting to talk. Like you kind of said earlier, a lot of things were under the surface. Like, okay, it's 2018, right? We see like neo-Nazis, we see so much racism, right? But it wasn't that it wasn't there.
Yeah.
5 years ago, or 8 years ago, or 10 years ago. And I think sometimes, like we always say, like the elephant in the room, it finally came out. Like, we have been dealing with these issues, and now that we have this president in place, right, who's like making people talk about it, now that we're talking about, you know, like immigration, and first you have to like talk about it, and then you can find the solution. And I think that's a silver lining.
Yeah.
Well, I think every intersection of identity has been under attack since he's come into office. So whether it's sexuality or gender or race or economic or whatever it is, like every single people has like their platform now, kind of only as like counteracting, like kind of like just going the opposite direction.
He's such a divisive figure, I think, that's why it's bringing a lot of these sentiments to the surface, because people on both extremes, you know, they're feeling emboldened by him, the fact that he's such a wild card and such a nutcase. And, you know, it's bringing a lot of redirected fury at the fact that that's the fucking president.
It's funny how like only now that we have like basically a sex offender president, that we have people coming out about their experiences within the past 4 to 5 months. It's like, okay, the president does this. Oh, and look at this other institution, Hollywood, which kind of runs parallel. And you know what's going on here with people.
Look at this NCAA. Look at this college sports and education, and then how far is it gonna go?
Actors are losing their movies. You know. athletes are losing their endorsement deals or whatever for these sexual allegations coming out, and yet the president still remains in office. So it's
really
frustrating.
Is he an actual sex offender?
That's what I'm saying. Like, is there any evidence?
Yeah,
of him
that's what I
actually
wanted to know
Right.
too.
He
And I
admits
feel
it.
like the
In the
media
episode, they're just saying it. They're putting it out
will
there.
just say anything.
Okay. All right. Hold up. We hit a pressure
Like,
point.
let's find proof.
We hit a pressure point. Okay, this is very interesting. Okay.
That's the one.
Whoa.
Dude, there's about.
Makes people feel good to say that.
All right, well, let's see. Okay, hold on. I want to ask a question. So obviously we hit a pressure point with the president being allegedly a sex offender, being called a sex offender. Now, he says whenever he is attacked, anything, in any way, like when there you go, you can ask, that's fine. Whenever he's criticized by something, he says it's fake news.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Anything he puts out that is he's questioned on, it's fake news. I don't do that. How much can we believe him?
It's the adult equivalent of I am rubber and you are glue. I mean, we're back on the playground here with this man, and he's supposed to be some kind of scion to lead us in. I don't know, man.
But the bottom line is that as long as he says that, the people who want to believe him can keep believing it.
That's true.
That's all.
And all presidents have been like that.
Right.
Listen, Bill Clinton, let's not lie. When it was the 90s, he was constantly saying, no, I didn't do that. Oh, I would never do it.
Yeah, 'cause
only
he just
when he
denied it.
gets caught, he's like, oh, right, yeah. But he will deny, I did not have sexual. All politicians are always doing that. It depends on who their friends are in the media. If they're willing to help them, if they're complicit and willing to help them make it seem like it's not a big deal, they will do that. And that's precisely what they did with the Clintons. But it's because, frankly, and we should be honest with ourselves, the mainstream media is in the pocket of, and they are the acolytes of, they are the weaponized arm of the Democrat Party. And they have been for a long time, since the 1960s and 70s.
That is true. I mean, I think that is true because there is corporate money there. Like, we can all see that we get shown an image on the news, we get fear.
His wife is like a congresswoman and
sure.
NBC and stuff like this. It's like
There are news sources that skew conservative and those that skew.
But my question is fake news, can fake news just be bad news? Like, we have to make a distinction between bad news and fake news. Before, let's say during the Obama years, CNN, for example, would just report the news, and like news would happen and they would report it, and it was pretty normal.
Not always.
But it wasn't, and there are times when CNN and New York Times are wrong.
or they would avoid saying things because they didn't want to report things that might make people that they're on the team with
they
look
have
bad.
a bias. They have a bias.
Absolutely.
CNN.
Yeah, 100%.
But it's because if you're saying that because they're wrong sometimes, we can prove that they're wrong sometimes. What we can do is we can manipulate that and say that everything they're saying is wrong. And that's what's happening. There are people who won't believe anything on CNN because the president says fake news. Isn't that dangerous?
It's not necessarily that.
Why?
Right,
I don't hate
exactly.
CNN because of Trump saying that's fake news.
I'm not saying everyone. I'm saying, like,
Right.
generally speaking, his base is still supportive because, well, there's a lot of reasons
They're
still supportive.
anti-CNN, not necessarily just because he's always saying they're fake news, they're fake news, they're fake news, but because they see, like, if you just YouTube their fake stuff, you see them setting up, like, caution tape and pretending to be at a crime scene. Or they're like, oh, I'm here in Arizona, and she's talking to somebody who's like, oh yeah, I'm in New York, and then you see like the same 18-wheeler pass by the first person, and then it passes by the second. They're constantly manipulating stuff. They're putting things out there. They are fake.
Oh, I want to hear what Matt has to say.
Of course it's dangerous because it just drives a deeper wedge into this bias where people seek out news that tells them what they want to hear.
Yeah.
And it drives people farther and farther into their corner. And it drives its discussion that we're trying to have farther and farther apart. So of course it's dangerous to call everything fake news. It's one thing to say that it's bad news and it's inaccurate, but if you attack the whole foundation, it just drives that way.
Mainstream news has a filter, right? Like there's a filter.
Check this out.